What's going on, y'all? Alex here again with another Axe Effects tutorial, and today we're going to be talking about the feedback loop. So without further ado, let's jump right in, shall we? So as always, we've got some notes here on the right, and we've got my setup, my grid here to the left. So what I want to talk about first is the idea of what a feedback loop is. And so what it is you send your signal through, and then the output gets looped back right to your send again. So, and that's kind of what's going on here. However, this isn't really a loop. So if you really wanted to, you could make this into a loop, but I really strongly I really recommend that you take this note seriously, because you can damage your equipment this way. If you end up sending something that gets more like louder, or sends more delays, or sends reverberations through, and it keeps on sending that through a loop, and eventually it has a gain higher than 1, well, that's a feedback loop that's unstable, what they call it, and that can damage your equipment. It can create humongous loud squeals, and you don't want to do that. You just don't. So be careful with this thing. It's probably one of the only modules where you can actually damage your stuff, and they won't cover this. So let's get over it. Let's get over and talk about it a little bit, huh? So what I've got here is send 1, wow, I can't talk today again either. Feedback send 1, feedback send 2, return, feedback return 1, and feedback return 2. And pretty common sense says that the feedback send 1 goes to the feedback return 1, and the feedback send 2 goes to the return 2. So just to demonstrate that this is actually how it works, the feedback send 1 is going to my guitar. In 1 is my guitar, and it's going to send 1. So if I start playing, and then I'd taken, bypass this send, or I can bypass the return, I guess. You can't bypass the send. There's no parameters on the send. And the same thing works for the voice as well. So into is my voice. If I turn this off while I'm talking, you're not going to hear him any longer. Demonstrate. I'm talking. You're probably not hearing a thing. Turn it back on, you can probably hear me again. So that's what the point is, right? So it's not much. This video is not very long, because this set of modules, to get there is just right here after the enhancer. I've been doing these videos in alphabetical order to keep myself on track. So it's just feedback sends, feedback return, and that's what these things are for. And really, what these things are great for is if you decided you wanted a ton of effects covering all the way across here. Let's just give that a whack, shall we? So right now you can't hear my guitar because there's nothing connected to the send. But let's say we want to throw a filter, maybe not a filter. Let's just go with some normal stuff, like a phaser over here. Maybe I want a rotary, who knows? And then, I got some other stuff over here. Maybe I want a delay. And then we slap all this together. And now we've got sound. All right, guys. And that's pretty much it. If there's any question about what this does, actually, you know what? Let's just go over here. Return level, output level, and balance. So your return level is going to be determining basically how much of the signal is being sent back through, or getting back into the return. And this is really, these two parts right here is where you can get dangerous. So make sure that when you start these things off, you set them right to 0. And then you slowly turn them up as you kind of play around with it and hear how it's going. If you notice it's getting louder and louder, you better slap that thing right back down and try to find out what part of your chain is causing the instability. So I warn you, this can mess your stuff up, but It's also really useful if you want to fill this sucker up with things to mess around with. Maybe send this over here, go some parallels, come back. You can create a longer chain of effects and processing with the send and return loops. And remember, you can do this multiple times with a single output. So if I wanted to, I could be like, send this over to here. When it gets back to send, you return it to go back over here. Maybe send this to send number 2, and then return number 2, and then have the output way over here. So you could have up to 3 kind of 3 branches of modules going into one output. Granted, your CPU usage is going to fire up through the roof, but it's possible. And that's what this thing's all about. If you have any other questions, let me know. Until then, I'll cap you on a flippy floppy. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe. That'd be, helps me out, keep this channel going, keep you guys learning some new stuff. Appreciate you. Ciao for now, y'all.